All right, this video is going to quickly walk you through the 4 big ideas that we did in our previous lesson. One of the ideas was working with negative exponents, how to turn percentages of increase and decrease and then turning them into multipliers, and then also turning multipliers that you learned how to do with next over previous and turning those multipliers back into percents. And then the last thing is when we looked at exponential graphs, they are going to either increase or decrease as you draw them. And we'll talk about that real quick here in just a moment also. So here we go. The first thing is, before you start this, I want you to flip the sheet over and take these notes on the back side. First of all, negative exponents. When you're working with a negative exponent, there are 2 things you can do with a negative exponent. That negative exponent is attached to a base. In this case, the base is a fraction. Whenever you have a negative exponent attached to a base that's a fraction, it's easiest just to flip that fraction over. When you flip the fraction over, it makes the negative part of the exponent go away. So if I flip it over, it becomes 3 over 2, and now that negative 2 here becomes a positive 2. As you finish evaluating the fraction by squaring, you square the top and you square the bottom to get the final answer of 9 over 4. Take these notes, write that down in your sheet if you have not done that yet. But next, as we keep going here, if you have a negative exponent, that's just a part of a fraction that you want to move. You'll notice that it's just 3 to that negative exponent. If I want to make this negative exponent, I can take this part and move it up to the top. When you move it up to the top, you then have 5 along with times the 3 squared. Well, we know that 3 squared is 9, so the final answer is 5 times 9, which gives you 45. So I hope you can recognize that there's 2 things that happen. You can flip the base like this and then evaluate the exponent when it's positive, or move a piece of a fraction to make the exponent turn positive and then finish off the calculation from there. That's negative exponents. Now the next thing is we're going to talk about multipliers. Multipliers, you just take whatever multiplier we tell you. Now as we go back to the sheet eventually here, these are the multipliers they're giving you right here. As we get back to those things in just a moment, you're going to take that multiplier and just multiply 100 and subtract 100. Add that now to your sheet. Pause the video if you need to. And then now the last part, we're going to be giving you a percent. There are a lot of word problems you're going to get in this chapter also that are going to say, hey, this, whatever it is increasing by a percent. When things increase by a percent, we need to work with them mathematically as multipliers. So if it talks about something increasing by a percent, like 20%, you just take 100% and you add that percent to it, 20%, which then makes 120. But if you're going to turn that 120% into a multiplier, you divide it by 100. Because we call this percent, and percent is per 100, so we're going to take this percentage of 120 and divide it by 100, and you get an answer of 1.2. Lastly, we're going to give you some kind of percent that might decrease. When it decreases, you're going to subtract the percent from 100. So if I take 100 minus 30%, I get 70%. And then after you divide that by 100, it turns it into the multiplier of 0.7. So now what I want you to do is I want you to try to do the back side right here, or the other side now of the worksheet, and get through those items. But as you get to the very bottom, I'll just talk you through this last part. Exponential equations. When you see a multiplier that has a number less than 1, like this one, those are going to decrease these values by some percent. In this case here, this one will decrease by 7%. For example, when things decrease and the multiplier is less than 1, like point something, the graph looks like this. It would be a graph that shoots down and gets like this, and it gets really close to the x-axis and does not touch it. That is called an asymptote. The x-axis has a dotted line on top of it, and we call that an asymptote. That's what a decreasing graph looks like. This one that has 1 point something, that's what a graph looks like when it's increasing. So if I were to graph this one, it'll have a 3% growth rate, which is not very high. So it'll be just curved a little bit, but it gets bigger over time, and that one is what we call increasing. As you can see this one right here, that decimal's less than 1, so that's going to decrease. That one's larger than 1, that's going to increase. So use these ideas of increase and decrease based on the multiplier that you see. That one increases, that decreases, that decreases, that increases because it's bigger than 1. Hope this video helps, and use your skills now from what you've learned in our prior lesson to get this worksheet finished. Good luck.